Access to effective legal representation through the criminal justice process can be a matter of life and death for people facing charges of capital punishment. There is a vast body of international human rights law that protects the right to effective counsel. However, justice systems continue to deny access to effective legal representation at every juncture of the criminal justice process. This issue appears differently in the myriad of different cultural, political, and social contexts across the globe. In April 2019, two 17-year-old boys were secretly executed in Iran. The Iranian Code of Criminal Procedure recently introduced a right to legal representation at the arrest and investigation stages of proceedings. Despite these seemingly progressive changes, the teenagers were denied a lawyer at both of these critical points. When the boys were finally granted access to counsel at trial, their conviction and sentencing violated the principles of juvenile justice. Such blatant breaches of the access to counsel principle resulted in the tragic loss of young life. In many jurisdictions around the world, police corruption is a major barrier when accessing counsel. A 60-year-old man is currently on death row in Pakistan for blasphemy. It was reported that after 14 days of continuous torture, police extracted forced confessions used against him at trial. This prolonged method of interrogation may not have occurred if he had been afforded the legal counsel that he repeatedly requested. Such deep-rooted corruption also prevented a lawyer from bringing relevant evidence, as all witness statements came from the same police officers who tortured him. I sense that I will be sent to the gallows if I am not given legal representation. I fear losing my life. Despite the extensive legal protections afforded in the United States, the case of Billy Wardlow demonstrates the consequences of ineffective legal counsel at trial. Billy was executed in Texas on the 8th of July 2020. Wardlow maintained that his trial lawyers failed to bring mitigating evidence that may have reduced his sentence and saved his life. These factors included his young age, lack of prior convictions, his remorse, and being a victim of extensive physical and psychological abuse. In recent years, we have seen cases where death row inmates have been granted a reprieve, or even be exonerated. This is due to dedicated legal counsel, reviewing their cases and bringing new evidence and prior errors made to the court's attention. However, this is not an effective safeguard. People on death row should not have to rely on sparse pro bono legal support. Denying a person their access to appropriate, efficient, and timely legal representation deprives them of their voice in the legal process. This can be the difference between life and death for those charged with serious crimes. Where the stakes are so high, states must do all they can to give the defendant their fair trial rights. Access to effective counsel is an essential first step to a fair trial, as recognised by international human rights standards.